What's going on, guys? We're live here in the Facebook group, and I'm so excited for this episode. You have no idea how excited I am. Um, this episode today, it's gonna be an episode where you will be seeing how you can actually make more money in real estate. You don't have to work harder. You just have to work smarter for this specific one. Yes, we have to work in order to start getting revenue generated, sales, and everything that we got to do is obviously like at the beginning of our business, focus on generating appointments and closing those appointments, right? Closing them into deals. But today I have a special one. And before I jump into that, I'm going to kind of like show you what we put together here because we're going to have an in-person podcast here in Miami. So whoever is actually interested in going to our Miami in-person podcast, this is kind of like the evolution. There's a little preview in here. I'm going to just show it here with you of what we've been trying to make. So here's iteration one of our podcast, a little bit too serious, a little bit too professional, kind of goes with like a lot of different things that we want to do. Second iteration is this one. It's getting a little bit too much, but we'll see how it works. But anyone that is in this podcast will be invited to like this type of studio. We're still working on the design and everything. This is not the finished design, so still working with our professional designers to make sure that this is good. But that's kind of like the preview of what we're trying to do. All right. And today I'm gonna bring in David. David, and it's a surprise. His last name is David Ritcher. Um, what's up, man? How's
Hey,
it going?
how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Really excited to have you here. We usually come in and we bring in guests that will teach tactics on how to make money in the front end, right? And we have a few of them that teach us how to make money in the back end, optimizing different things in the systems and operations and like making things more optimal. But today, you're gonna help us to make more money like in the back end in the entire concept of being
Yeah.
financially literate. And I'm excited for this podcast. So we're gonna go here and introduce everyone who you are, right? We're gonna have a presentation and let's get it rock and rolling. Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, let's go.
So I'm
Oh, 1 second.
Oh, my bad.
Let's go.
Mic check. I'm good.
Mic check, mic check.
You can read about success all day long, but if you don't put in the work, the mindset, execution, and the hustle behind your vision, it just remains a dream.
When everything goes wrong, you have to take all the responsibility.
We uncover what high-level entrepreneurs, business owners do to rise up from hustling daily.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
The world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Join me as I share with you actionable tips to help you grow your business, learn skills, and help you level up in your self-development journey.
Your number one spot for business and personal growth is the Online Hustlers Podcast with your host, Esteban Andrade.
What's going on, guys? Today it's Esteban Andrade in the Online Hustlers podcast. We have a series of REI marketing and conversion, and we recently have added also recruitment, placing, being able to do different things with the entire hiring process. And today we have a special guest. I'm very excited for that one because usually we bring in people that are teaching you specific tactics, specific type of strategies, actionable steps, hacks, tips on the front end of your business, whether that's marketing, sales, whether that's growing a team, optimizing specific things in the back end to make money in a more optimal way and being able to increase efficiency. But today is one of the most important actual episodes. And the person that we're bringing in here is an author of a very specific book that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners have read. And if you have not, just like me, that I have not completed this one, should finish it off and should actually start it, grab that book. It's called Profit First. And he was able to take the model of that book, which is profit first, and put it and implement it into real estate investing, real estate wholesaling, anything real estate entrepreneurship. He is the man. So today we have David. But before we start, if you find valuable and you've been a listener to previous episodes, make sure to subscribe, review some of our episodes, tell us what you think about them, because it will help us a lot if we have great reviews. That way that the podcast algorithm will help others show this podcast, be in front of the cover, be in front of the entire first library of podcasts, and then people will be able to listen to these golden nuggets. So here I'm introducing to David Ritcher. What's going on, my man?
Hey, Esteban.
What's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, so David Ritcher from Simple CFO. He is an author of Property First for Real Estate Investing. And this really makes me excited about this episode because we're going to be able to cover specific fundamentals and specific things that need to be done inside the business in order for a business to become more profitable. But not only that, you not only have a book where they can find almost everything that they need, but you can also do it for them. You can also work with them on this and essentially have it done with you process so that you come into your simple CFO business, and you'll be able to take care of all of that for, especially for all these busy entrepreneurs. And as people scale, you're a busy entrepreneur. So, having someone like you is 100% beneficial. I don't think there is anyone doing this, what you're doing specifically for this niche. And I love that you have niche down this specific industry because I did the same thing. But yeah, I'd love to know a little bit more about your background, man. Like,
Sure.
first, who is David Ritcher? Where are you coming from? What's your background? I mean, why are you here where you are right now?
So in college, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad because a friend gave that book to me. And that's kind of where it all started. And there was no turning back. Bought my first house in college and loved that and rented it out, then lived in it for a little bit, and then actually lease optioned it for a while and got cashed out of that. And that was kind of like the start of my real estate journey. Hooked up with a real estate investing company too. So we were doing a bunch of different types of deals: wholesale, turnkey, fix and flip, lease options, rentals, like anything that you could think of. Did about 800 deals while I was there. So I got to see a lot of different deals and different deal types. Scaled it up to about 25, 30 deals a month. And that's where I got the taste of the entrepreneurial dream and the, scaling a business to, about 300 deals a year. So that's how I got introduced to real estate and, the whole journey there, because my background is real estate investing. So it's kind of where I came from. And then there's a whole journey from there into what I'm doing today. So I don't know if you want to chunk it down, or if you just want me to go straight through to the end.
Yeah, like you obviously work for like it looks like a really big company, kind of like, you want to say like it's fairly big.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so what would you say that you learned the most out of working like in a really big company that it's like doing 800 deals a year?
So I did 800 deals while I was there. So it was about 300 deals a year. But that company, I got to see it go from like 5 deals a month to about 25, 30 deals a month. Probably the biggest lesson I learned, though, was one of the last years I was there, I sat in the finance seat. And even though it sounds cool to do that many deals, like we were doing 25 deals a month, but spending like 26 because we didn't know. It was like as much as was going in, that much or more was going out the door. So it was that was probably the most eye-opening thing to me, is like, who cares how much you're doing if you're not keeping it at the end of the day? That was probably something that resonated with me from there, and probably what launched me on the other journey that I took to help people not get into that predicament anymore.
Yeah. Have you ever been in the finance world? Have you ever been in the real estate as well? Or like before that, do you have formal education?
I went to college for teaching, secondary education. So no, I don't have a finance background. Real estate investing has been my life basically since out of college. So where I've been either with that company or building a portfolio or buying properties or whatever. So that's my background, is going to college for teaching and then just jumping right into the real estate investing world. But I get asked that a lot. And especially when people know the business that I own, it's a fractional CFO business. And I say, no, I don't have any background in accounting or bookkeeping or anything. All mine is the school of hard knocks. Like for a year, I was in that finance seat at that real estate investing company. And I learned how to do the books, how to read the P&L, the balance sheet, all the different things there that make up the story of the business, how those numbers tell that story. So that's kind of the background that I took to be able to say, hey, something's going wrong here with the story of the business. So no formal education in the finance side. I just have a lot of good people on the team that do.
Yeah. So you basically were in that company doing like a high level amount of deals for like maybe around 2 years or so, right? Two
Yeah.
years,
Yeah, I was there for actually 5 years.
5 years.
For right out of college, I was like one of the first. I had a job in college, but then right out of college, I started working there with them. So that's where I got launched in the real estate investing career and started buying some properties from them, had a small portfolio myself. So just got totally immersed in the real estate world right after college.
Yeah. And so what was the biggest thing that you did back then when you had that specific, job, like specific role in being able to see the back end and finances that made them more money?
One of them was, well, here we go. Once I knew we were in trouble, because I saw that we were spending, like the overhead grew too. Go figure, right? I mean, as you grow and scale, that grows as well. And we had grown the team from like 5 people to 25 people as well. But that's where sat down and said, okay, we've got a rental portfolio of about 100 properties, and we've got the active business, wholesaling and flips and the stuff that provides the active income. And I said, hey, that active income's not supporting the active business. We're either going to have to sell some of these properties, and I put this whole plan together in order to save the business from going bankrupt. And what ended up happening was the owner said, no, we're going to, go a different direction or whatever. And so a lot of people left then. A lot of people just said, nope, I'm out of here. So that's probably one of the biggest things I saw there was just being able to put a plan together and say, this would put us back in the black, because now I've seen that happen on the other side with us helping people and clients that actually want to listen. And now listening to them say hey, I'm glad we put a plan together in place to be able to get back where we were. Because a lot of people come to us or they read Profit First and they're like, how can I do this? I'm not even profitable. And it's this is why you need something. You need a system in place to become profitable, or do you just want bigger headaches as you keep continuing to grow and scale? So that was one of the biggest things, was diving in to see what do we have available to bring immediate cash into our company right now, which we have to do with a lot of people right now. When we're recording this, there's been, the interest rates are going up. It's harder to sell some of the properties sometimes. And we're telling people hey, if you don't have these cash reserves, how are we going to make sure that the business stays afloat, as you're coming on board? So that way, that you'll still have a company in 6 months. So it's just being able to put those plans together in the difficult times. And what's even better is what the people that have been with us a long time, putting those plans together before you even need it. So you're sitting on those cash reserves when, stuff hits the fan. So that way it's hey, we can either capitalize on these opportunities, or we don't have to be in panic mode all the time like other people. So
Yeah.
that's probably one of the things I saw back when I was with that company.
Was that your first case study ever?
That was definitely the first case study. But I didn't start the business back then, but it kind of got the inkling of, I think other people are having this problem, because I would go to masterminds too, and I was part of different groups and events. And I saw the same thing everywhere else. People are focused on top line and not bottom line, doing a bunch of deals, but not feeling like they're keeping any of the money, know that they can make it, but spending everything that they're making and saying why are we doing this? So that was definitely a common theme I kept hearing over and over places I went.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that a lot of people do not understand how, I had a coach, and the coach was just focused on, oh, set appointments, close those appointments, set appointments, close those appointments. Don't worry about the rest. And then all of a sudden people will grow so fast, but then they start getting so many leaks in the operational side. And then
Right.
they start getting stressed out. And then all of a sudden you're not profitable anymore. They're hey, and then the coach was just make more money, just make more money. And I'm
Right.
wait a minute. am I really just working for the next paycheck and just also getting like so stressed out when there's these other people that are having the time, having like a massive amount of margins and being able to hire in a faster pace, being able to like fulfill to my clients and being able to like get all these deals coming in a more consistent basis, but I can't, and I'm doing more like of that dirty hard work. Like, what am I doing wrong?
Right.
So I guess that a lot of people have that as well. And but I also, in the real estate side, having your first case study, what do you feel it was the root cause of that company not being able to see that, hey, their active cash flow is not keeping up with what's going
Yeah.
on?
Not having a simple system for the owner to understand. I think that's probably the biggest thing is you can have finance people that understand this stuff, but if they can't translate that into normal entrepreneurial speak and being able to tell them like, hey, this is what's going on. Here's how much you're making. Here's how much you're spending. There's nothing left over to keep for yourself. Like being able to just give them very simple bottom of the shelf, like just very simple direction and systems for the financial portion. That was probably one of the big things. So that way, when it was too late, then it was too late to make the decisions that would have made a difference. So then it was into panic mode or into like, hey, we've got to make these plans together and like, hey, we got to do this or it's not going to be, or we're going to go out of business or whatever. So that's probably one of the biggest things is having a simple system. So that way, hey, I am making a ton of money and I am listening to my coach, but we're also needing to make sure I'm keeping this money too and not just burning out or not wasting all the leads or not, have so much coming in that I can't capture everything that's coming in.
Yeah. I mean, what are those fundamentals of the system? And let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So before we jump into the fundamentals and the frameworks that you would use and that you implement in the book, um, what was the end result of this first case studies? Like, what did they get out of it?
Well, the first case study was when I was still working there before I had even thought of the twinkling of the business. So that all it did was open my eyes. So honestly, the company blew apart because they didn't have anything and
Mm.
because I didn't have profit first back then or anything. So the first time was when I moved away from there. I sold everything I had and moved to across the country, started working with another investor. And that's where one of the first things I said was I need to look at your finances because your finances tell your story. And like, if you're not solid, then we got to get you solid as fast as possible if we're going to work together and we're going to be partners here. So I dove in there. It was a mess, just like 99% of real estate investors and business owners. The books were a mess. Dove into it, helped him clean it all up. So that way he could see very plainly, this is what I'm making on a monthly basis. This is what I'm spending. This is what I'm keeping. And then we also figured out he had a small rental portfolio that he had poured a lot of his own money into them and was super under leveraged. He didn't get enough to cover all the money he had put into his own properties. So he could refinance. He ended up refinancing a few properties out of that portfolio and got several $100,000 in his pocket. So that's where being able to see very clearly, what are we making, spending, keeping? And then here's where I am with my properties and here's what I own and here's what I owe. And is there any room there to take some money out tax free because it's not income equity, and taking that equity out is not income. That's where I really saw the power of just knowing the numbers of the business, knowing those simple ones. What do I make, spend, and keep? And really knowing the power, especially in real estate, of where I stand with my net worth and with my properties. So that's really where I got the light bulb of, because he told me, like, once we had that set up, like, this has been life changing. Now I can make better decisions with my business. I can make them faster. I can make sure that I'm making more, or if I need to stop spending as much or whatever it might be, I know the dials I can turn up and down now. And to me, that was the light bulb moment of I've got to start a business around this. So that's where that with him, I started setting up the business, and Gary Harper, my mentor, said, you need to read Profit First. So I read that book right away. And I went back to that guy and said, you haven't paid yourself like this whole time. Like, we got to set up an account just to make sure you're paying yourself. So then it got even better for him because he had never set up an account that was, specifically to pay him. And he was always like, where's all the money going? So that's where that first one was just very eye-opening, that I think a lot of investors, that's what I was thinking back then. A lot of investors just don't have these simple numbers in front of them. What do I make? What do I spend? What do I keep? So that's really the first case study I didn't even know was a case study with doing the 25 deals, but then that company blew apart. The second one was more, okay, now I know more, but now I wanted to start the business, and then started implementing that once I had these, these skills from the book and from being able to see several different businesses. And then it was off to the races from there. Started helping other businesses and implemented, and saw it really starting to take hold, that hey, it's very important, like revenue in first position all the time. Of course, we also have to make finance. If revenue's one, then finance and keeping the money is like 1A. Like right underneath it, making sure that you're not just dumping a bunch of money into your business and it's just falling out the bottom. And you're like, where in the world did it all go? So that's what the first real case study was, that guy. And that guy's still a client today. This is years ago when we first worked with him. So that's where, just being able to have that peace of mind of where the money's going.
Okay. And at this moment, you help real estate investors only, or like, for instance, if they have other type of business models, they also do, you'll help them.
Yeah, we business owners, especially real estate investors, have multiple entities usually, and different types of things they do. So we work with our fractional CFO service. We do work with a lot of real estate investors that have multiple other companies, whether it's a marketing company, an influence type company. If it's got one with a speedboat rental company. So yeah, it's not just real estate investing companies we work with, but anything else that the real estate investors throw at us. And then we have some random other businesses too, like a trucking company and some marketing agencies and some things like that as well, that we're working with at this time too.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, let me ask you, what is
Yeah.
like the most challenging thing for business owners to even comprehend that they had to do at the very beginning, or like whenever you like consult with them, talk with them about their finances and about their business, that it's like mind blown for them? Like, what was it like? What is the most challenging thing that they have to grasp that is so simple for you?
Probably the very first thing I teach a lot of places that I go out and speak, the number one thing I say is you have to find the number that you need to keep on a monthly basis in your personal life. What do you need as an entrepreneur to bring home from your business to make sure your family is taken care of, or that your bills are taken care of, no matter what? That's the very first thing. What do I need to keep? Because a lot of people build their business around the hope and pray plan. I hope we have enough income coming in. I'm praying that there's these deals close and that I can feed my family this month, or whatever it might be. That's where a lot of people live, in the land of hoping versus the land of knowing. I
Yeah.
know this is how much I need. I know this also translates into how many leads I need, how many deals I need to do, which convert into actual dollars in the bank. But a lot of people just say, I want to do $1 million a year, or I want to do 100 deals or 5 deals a month, or they set some arbitrary number like that has no meaning to them at the very beginning. And they build that plan around that number, but they have no idea what that translates into for them specifically. So we tell people, find what you need to keep first. You need to find what you need on a monthly basis, and then build a business plan around that number. So that way, if I need to bring home $10,000 a month, like cash in the bank to me, then that translates into how many deals do I need to do, or how many rentals do I need to buy to get there as fast as possible, or whatever that is. And then you can reverse engineer it and say, here, I need $10,000 a month. This is how many deals I need to do. This is where I'm getting my numbers, versus just some pie in the sky number they've heard at some other place. And, that comparison, that game that a lot of people play. So that's probably one of the first big things that, to me, sounds simple, and it sounds simple to a lot of people, but a lot of people just haven't sat down and said, what do I need to keep for my business?
Yeah, because if you think about it, like an entrepreneur at the beginning of their entrepreneur business, they'd be like, "Oh, I just want to make money," and like,
Right? Yeah.
and then people sell this like, don't go crazy with your Lambos, don't go crazy with your cars, don't go crazy with your apartment, and then they just try to like put everything away. They don't pay themselves a lot, so
Right.
there's that mindset of like, I need to not be fancy right now until I'm fancy. And so a lot of people stay with that, and they don't realize that now you're making a lot of money. Now you have to make some changes. So how do you switch up, like an entrepreneur that wants to make a lot of money, that understands that they need to reinvest back into themselves, their business, education, masterminds, blah blah blah, but still need to be paid, still need to be given a certain amount? Like how do you, like how would you work that out? Because like imagine, like it will be like the living expense, it will be like my day to day, for me to have fun, for me to live with my, my family to live. So like how would you work that out with someone?
That's why the profit first system takes a step further than a lot of the other books that we read as entrepreneurs, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, that says pay yourself first, or The Richest Man in Babylon, or like all these other books, a lot of them behind me on my bookshelf, that say some version of pay yourself first, or a portion of all you have is yours to keep, or something along those lines. Profit first says pay yourself, but here's a system in order to make sure you're bringing enough in to pay yourself, to grow the business, to save for taxes. So it sets up a practical system to say, here's how we're going to make sure every dollar that comes into my business has a name. Every dollar that comes in, I give it a name, whether it's, that I'm going to pay myself a portion of this, I'm going to reinvest in the business and my operational expenses. This portion is going to go towards taxes. You're making sure as income comes in, you're naming it. And there's that practical step of where a lot of people, not just real estate investors, but business owners in general, just have one big bank account and make all financial decisions in their business around their bank balance and around that bank account, and say, okay, I have money there, I can spend the money. Or I don't have money in there, I can't spend the money. And then you're more frugal because you're like, oh, shoot, I'm only sitting on a couple thousand right now. So that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. So the profit first system says, open up multiple bank accounts and give them names. It's like the envelope method. If you're a Dave Ramsey fan, or even if you've heard of that, that's where that principle of giving every dollar name that comes into your business. So that way you open up different bank accounts. Like I call the first three to open up the golden trio, because a lot of the movies like Harry Potter, Star Wars have three main heroes always pushing the story forward for good. Your business is your epic saga. It's your story. So make sure you have three golden heroes, golden trio, that's always pushing the story forward for good of your business. And that those accounts are a profit account, an owner's comp account, or the keep number there. And then number three, the owner's tax. So that way you're keeping more. Those help you keep more of the money and give those dollars a name, like profit that you take once a quarter. And it's kind of like the celebration. The owner's comp account is really to pay yourself on a consistent basis, at least a monthly basis, if not weekly, bi-weekly, or however often you pay yourself. That one's to help you get out of your rat race and to keep it on a monthly basis to be able to pay yourself. And then the owner's tax is to make sure that when tax time comes, especially if you're a wholesaler, that you've got the money there so that way you can pay the taxes and move on without having to be super stressed. Like, oh, shoot, it's tax time. I got to do 4 more deals just to make up for this tax bill. That's what that's for. So setting up those accounts. Then I would set up an income account. That's where all the money's going to come into before you transfer it out to those keep accounts or to those other 3 accounts, the golden trio. So that way you're having it's coming in and just sitting there until you tell it when to move and where to go. So now you're telling your money where to go, and you control it versus it controlling you. Then you already have OPEX. That's the bad guy. That's where you know what you're going to spend. So there you also have a simple system to give every dollar a name. But then from what I keep preaching about is the make, spend, and keep. The income helps you know what you're making because it sits there until you transfer it, so you know how much is coming into the business. The spend is the OPEX. You already know, like, that's what's going out to pay people, to pay, the marketing and all that stuff to grow the business. Then you've got the 3 golden trio accounts start to help you keep more of it. So that way you can see what's the profit of the business in cash, what do I have to pay myself, and then what's the owner's tax here to make sure I have that when that time comes. So that's a simple system using bank accounts, what entrepreneurs are already looking at on a daily basis versus trying to become that finance expert. You know why this appealed to me as a non-accountant, non-bookkeeper? Because I could look at this and very simply see, this is where my cash is. I know if I'm making enough to pay myself, to grow the business still, and to make sure that I have some profit at the end of the day as well too. So that's where setting this up gave me clarity. Everyone in business wants financial peace. They want to be able to say, I have enough money to do whatever I want to do. whether that's grow the business or pay myself more or whatever it is. A lot of people are searching for that because a lot of people have financial anxiety. They just do. That's one thing that, especially in America, that we just tout more and more and more, spend, spend, spend. And then we do that, but then we never say, when is enough enough? When do we going to make sure that we're also keeping it and that it's why we're building this is worth it? So that's where setting up these controls and this simple system in place, setting up simple bank accounts, give every dollar a name in your business, then you're going to be able to very clearly see, am I making enough? Can I give myself a raise? Because we're making enough that I could still invest in the business and grow it, but I still have more left over to be able to pay myself. So that way you can see very clearly, yes, no, and if not, then you can make the decisions that will affect those numbers. Okay, we're spending too much here, but not getting a good return. Obviously, we're not making enough with this marketing channel, or we're not making enough from going out and speaking over here, or whatever it might be, to bring leads in for you. So that's where it sets up a simple system from the cash point of view. Are we making enough? Are we spending it in the right places? And am I keeping anything? And then you can see it right from the bank account. So that's the system. So that way people can know, as entrepreneurs and real estate investors, where's my money going? And do I need to change anything based on where the money is?
All right. So that will be a setup that obviously, like, let's say we call the bank account or we go to the bank account,
Yeah.
you can do that. But it's like, I don't think it's like just any like butterflies and rainbows, it's just like that. And I'm pretty sure you have frameworks or you have specific fundamentals. Now we have something set up, right? So we have the profit, we have tax, and we have the, the owner's pay set up. So what type of frameworks do you make them go through in order for truly, like, in a monthly basis, in a consistent basis? This is not like a 1 month thing. This is not a 2 month thing. This is like a for life thing.
For a
'cause you're
life thing.
business.
Yep.
So like, what frameworks would you make them go through, or like you help your clients and you
Yeah.
help people?
So once you have the system set up, then we teach you the rhythms of money. I would say on a weekly basis, move the money. If money comes into the income account, move it at least on a weekly basis, unless you're not closing stuff every week or you don't have income, then just move it as long as the money's coming in. Make it a rhythm. Money comes in, we move it. But
What
I
do you
would do
mean,
it so
moving
that
it?
so that way you move it from income to the rest of the accounts. So it comes into income, it sits there, and then you transfer it to the golden trio of accounts, the profit, owner's comp, owner's tax, and then to the OPEX to grow the business and to pay the bills. So you move it on a weekly basis. That's one rhythm. On a monthly basis, review the money. Review it and get into the rhythm of saying, how much did I make, spend, and keep this last month? Did I make enough? Did I spend it in the right places? And did I keep any of it? Was I able to pay myself? Was I able to actually put some in the profit account over this last month? So review it at a very high level like that. Then from there, on a quarterly basis, the quarterly rhythm is take some money out of the profit account on a quarterly basis. So that way you can say, hey, we're a real business here. This is icing on the cake. Like, I have profit in a profit account that I could take up to, we say, up to 50% out of that profit account to do whatever I want to with it. And that's where I take that money out and literally buy the Lambo if you want to, or buy ice cream if the first time it's $10 out of that account, whatever it might be. But that's where you take the money out on a consistent basis. So that way it feels like it was worth it trading 40 hours working for someone else, working 24/7 for myself. So that's where I want to make sure that we get people into rhythms. And that's that framework there. So on a weekly basis, move it and transfer it from income to the other accounts. The second one, on a monthly basis, review it, review where the money's going, what I'm making, spending, and keeping. Then on a quarterly basis, take it, take the money and do what you want with it from the profit account, because that's what that account is set up for to reward the owner of the business.
Okay. So having rhythms. And I'm assuming that, for instance, for specifically like how much each person is going to require to keep as profit, or how much they want to keep for them, like, would these rhythms like kind of like differ per individual, or like how would you know? Like, I guess my question, and a lot of people will have this question, is like, how much that it will be optimal for me to have as a profit and to move to that specific account. Like,
Yeah.
let's say,
So in the Profit First book that I wrote and in the original one, there's called a TAPS sheet. It's target allocation percentages, meaning depending on how big my business is, these are the target percentages for those different accounts. What we first do with people is we analyze, what are your percentages right now of what you're making? How much are you spending and keeping currently? So we give you a baseline. Here's your baseline. Here's what you're currently doing. We call those caps current percentages. Your current, like what you're currently allocating to yourself and to the business. Then from there, we say, how does that measure up to your targets? Okay, you're making this amount of money. Here's what your target should be. And this, for the different accounts, how close are you to that right now? And how long will it take us to get there? That's what we do, is we analyze that to say, okay, how close am I to actually being on target for being a healthy business, to make sure that, hey, 20% can go to profit, or whatever is good for you. Then we have some people who look at the targets and they know they can blow past it. We've got some people that are like 30, 40% going into their profit account because they can, because of the high margin businesses that they're in real estate investing. So it really, people don't understand that once you put a number down on paper and you can see it, the power that's there, knowledge is power. We work with one real estate investor, and he said that on a call with us, where he's like, this knowledge has given me the power to increase those percentages, like the good ones. Like, he's being able to keep more from his business because now he's directing his money, the same money. It's not like he's making 10x more than he was after he started working with us. It's more that he's making a lot of money still, and he's now being able to direct it to say, hey, I don't need to either spend this over here because it's not working, or I know I could allocate some of the funds over here and I want to keep more of it. And that he was just before, just dollars would come in, dollars would go out, and just feeling like I have no control over the business because he didn't know what he made, spent, and kept. So that's what we try and get people in. Okay, what are your targets? Where do you want to be? And what can you do realistically? Because you might be able to blow past some of these targets that are set up in place. So that's where we go through with a lot of people, just to give them a goal to shoot for.
Like, how common is it that you have a business that been in business for years? Like, I would say, I would ask, like, what would be the average, or like, will be common for a business that go in there and have the same issues? They've been in business for quite a while, or they have the same, very similar type of issues. Can you walk us through like some examples? Because it sounds so simple, and it sounds like every single person should have this type of education before, if even starting a business, or
Right.
like when they get started on a business, like they should have right away sent a book on profit first. Like,
Right.
if you open an LLC, that LLC company, that corporation company, should be sending you that book, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. But that's where we see that a lot of people, no matter how long they've been in business, have not had financial education when it comes to business. They might have taken a personal finance course in their life. They might have some of that, but a lot of people don't even have that. So a lot of people come in with the same habits that they've had in their personal lives, and those suck because they haven't had no training or no discipline or nothing to help them and guide them on the personal finance side. Then they go into business, and business is a different animal, but it has some same core principles. Just don't spend everything that you make, like making sure that you have a system that, am I making enough to support this business that I have? Do we have enough coming in? That's where, too, in real estate investing, it's very easy to take other people's money and give yourself a false sense of security, because you're like, hey, I have one big bank account. I just got private lender funds in here. Now the bank account looks really, really good. And you give yourself that false sense of security, and then you start spending money. Then you run out of money before your projects are done. And you're like, oh, shoot. But I will say, there's people that we've worked with that have literally been in business for 10 plus years, and as short as a year or less, where they just don't have this education. Like you said, it's my mission just to get this message out to everyone. Whether you work with us or not, you can get this education, because just like there's a lot of personal finance people out there that help people go from being debt ridden to debt free or whatever, there needs to be, on the business side, people that help you go from living deal to deal, or in the entrepreneur rat race or the real estate rat race, to getting out of that cycle and give yourself some good financial habits, because we've seen it over and over again. where people come up to me. You said, give some examples. Literally at another event I was at, I had no less than 7 people walk up to me and say, this has been life-changing, because they have no business financial background. And all of them have said some version of, we had financial anxiety in our lives. We either weren't paying ourselves enough, or I just didn't know what to do with the money, or I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know how to look at it. I didn't know what I was spending. I wasn't keeping enough, like some version of all those things. And they were, all of them, living in the land of hope. I hope this business works out. I hope enough money's coming in. But then once they know then that now I feel like the business owner, because what do we really do? What we really do at Simple CFO is not just give people bank accounts and give them this system. It's helping them become savvy business owners that say, I know how to manage the money. Every dollar that flows in here, I know where it's going to be optimized for our business. So that's what I want to give people. It's those people that just keep saying, this has been transformative, because now we have the power to direct the flow of our money, versus just think it's here it is. Here we go again. It's another month, in, out, like what the heck is going on? So that's where I've seen businesses that have been in business for a long time. And I've had a ton of other people as well too in our company say, I wish this would have been around 20 years ago when I first started real estate investing. And I'm like, I know, I wish I could have been there for you, like at the last crash. So that way you would have had a system that could have helped you during a time like this. So that's where I hear a lot of those two statements. Number one, knowledge gives me that power to direct the flow of the money, and I could be more confident as a business owner. Number two, I wish I would have had this from day one inside of my business. Like you said, when I opened up my LLC, that they would have sent me this freaking book, so I would have had a good financial foundation for the rest of my business. Because the people we see that have the most success are the people that have opened, that have had a business a shorter amount of time or whatnot, because they get good habits when they're smaller and as they grow. So that way they stockpile money more. Not saying we don't have good success with other people. It's just sometimes we have to turn the ship around. Or we have to change a mentality, or like Yoda says, they have to unlearn what they have learned when it comes to money and business finances. So it's like, well, I just want to make sure people know that no matter where you are, on your 1,000th deal or your first deal, we're trying to give you good habits to be able to manage the money and the flow of the money to get what you really want: financial peace and financial freedom in your business life. You want to be able to pack up and do whatever you want, whenever you want to do it, with whoever you want to do it. That's what we're really trying to give people through this system. And that's where, when you ask, like the different businesses and what we've seen, that's what we've seen is, number one, we want to make sure that we have that power in our hands. And number two, wish I would have had it from day one.
Yeah. You feel like you have a lot of experience. I feel like you have a lot of experience with different type of businesses at different levels. Like you
Yeah.
not only work with people that are already making money for a long time, but you also work with people that are just starting out, I'm assuming.
We have a program for that as well too. So yeah, for sure. We want to make sure people at least have, number one, the book, and then number two, if they need some more formal training, we've got that as well.
Okay. So for people that already been in business and have already making money, do you feel like a lot of these people like spent a lot of money, or they're just very frugal and they don't have no idea if they should even be taking some money out, and they're just living a frugal life?
No, most are the entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs, probably 85%, are more the A type. I'm just spending everything that I'm making, because that's the American hustle culture of grind, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. Money goes in, money goes out. Then they're just spending everything that they're making. It's not usually. We've had several people walk through our door who said, I have a lot of money because I am frugal. I just don't know what to do with it. We've had that happen probably 5 to 10 times, like through people that have walked through our door. But the majority of over the 100 people that we've worked on the other side are like, help, I have no idea what's going on, and I'm spending too much, and where is all my money? So that's usually what most people are at that point. And they just need someone to say, hey, there's a simple system. We can help walk you through this. We're going to give you some good habits. And at the end of the day, you'll be more confident in yourself as the business owner. So yeah, it's definitely more on the other side of people are just making it, spending it, making it, spending it. They're on the real estate rat race.
Again, everyone listening to this, if you go to Amazon or if you go to simple CFOsolutions.com and you look at the book tab, you're going to be able to find the book has like just under 100 reviews on Amazon. Profit First for Real Estate Investing. by David Ritcher. It's just like what, $20 for a wealth of knowledge, and you're starting
Yep.
out, setting everything up from the very beginning, and such. So I love to understand, like, and there is a business that is making sales have, let's say a common business that, um, it's not like the 1% of real estate businesses, but are getting there, but it's getting there to the top one. They have one or two salespeople. They already have a few positions in production, delegated marketing, and they have cold calling, SMS, or maybe they have PPC, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, they're trying to like exit out a few of those production role positions and focus on higher level things. But they just want to make sure that they are more profitable. They can invest in the right marketing. Maybe they want to start going into, like, I don't know, more networking events and things like that. Um, what would you say is like the most important key performance indicators, KPIs, that these people should already be measuring in their day to day to know where their finances are, their return of investments, and things like that, to make sure that we are that everything makes sense financially?
Right. So number one, I would say if you have this system set up, then you're going to know, do we have a healthy margin of profit, which is 30% for a lot of people. And that can include all three of those keep accounts, not just the profit account and not just paying yourself, but like overall from what you bring in, are you able to keep 30% of it? So that way, okay, a lot of that's probably going to go to your people, and the OpEx, like the people that you pay and the commissions and all that. And then marketing is another big expense as well, too. So we try and look at, is marketing at least giving you a 5x return? So is it 20%? Is your marketing 20% of what you're making? And then that's usually a healthy number. And then also as well, too, for the people, like, are you making a 5 to 6x return on the people as well, too? So if you're paying them, $1,000 per deal, are you getting 5 to 6,000 in return from that deal, or whatever it might be? So that's where, if you're paying them 5,000, are you getting, a $25,000 deal, nailed down or whatever? So that's where we want to make sure that, depending on the team members and what role that they are, that they're hitting certain benchmarks. But overall, I would want to make sure, okay, as a business as well, I wanted to look at this as the business overall, and a KPI would be, what is our margin, our profit margin, which is just a fancy word for, the buffer that we have inside of our business that's above and beyond, what we're making and spending. So that's where really what you're keeping. So those are just a couple of the things, because if you have that profit margin, you can say, okay, I'm going to take a few of those percentage points and I'm going to now hire someone and throw some of those percentage points in OpEx to make sure that I can invest in someone to take some stuff off my plate. So yeah, I might trade in some percentage points of profit, but I'm also returning, I should get a higher return, or I should be able to make more, because they're either going to take something off my plate that I don't have to look at anymore so I can do more revenue producing activities, or you invest in a revenue producing person that's like a salesperson or something, or marketing person, to help either drive leads in or to close those leads. So that's what I would say on that side of things, is some of the things to look out for inside of the business at a high level.
Okay. What have you seen that in marketing, um, a lot of people feel like, oh, I don't want to spend, let's say, for example, too much money on the more expensive ones, which is direct mail or PPC. I want to keep on doing cold calling because it's cheaper, and at the end of the day, I'm also profitable and things like that. But when you go inside a business and you want to make sure that it makes sense for them to go into like a high investment marketing channel, such as direct mail, PPC, and things like that, like, how do you evaluate whether it makes sense for them, and like what's your opinion about like investing in those type of marketing channels?
I like going deep in one. So if you're already really good at one, can you double down on it and still get a return? So knowing what is the return that we're currently getting at our best marketing channels, and should we shut down some of the ones that aren't performing? So number one, getting a grasp on our returns on investment. Okay, for every dollar I spend of cold calling, how much am I getting back in return? So being able to have those KPIs, but then also if you're going to open up a new marketing channel like direct mail, I'm for those other marketing channels as long as they work. What I would do first is say, okay, we're going to set aside this money that we've already made, and we're going to invest in 3 months of this marketing channel, or however long you want to, 6 months of marketing, and we're going to spend X amount of dollars, and I'm going to give it this X amount of time. And if I don't see a return by then I'm going to shut it off. So that way it's not just like the run and gun, hope and pray, weaning a prayer, like, okay, I'm going to invest in money in that and just keep dumping it for the next year. And then you never see the return. So I would set up some sort of plan like that. But then also I would say too, is that I love the quote from Dan Kennedy, a great marketing genius, he said that he who can spend the most money to bring in a lead wins. Because if you can spend the most, you can outspend other people and bring the lead in and still be profitable. Then the more you can spend, the more you are going to get more leads in, and you're going to be able to attract the right people into your business. So that's as well too. A lot of people think they want to be cheap on the marketing front, where you need to spend the money that's going to get you a deal. If the cost per contract is too high, though, like you're spending $5,000 and you're only getting $5,000 in the return, well, then you can see maybe this marketing channel isn't right for us in our market. And that's different from market to market, from zip code to zip code in some places. So you have to say, okay, what's best for me right now? Number one, what can we afford? Can we start cold calling? Do I need to start door knocking first? Or do I need to drive for dollars? Something that would get some money in the bank account. Okay, then what's the first thing that I know could be a long-term marketing play, like direct mail or like cold calling or something like that should be around for a long time? So that's where I would go into those ones that are direct response type marketing engines versus branding or websites or anything like that. I would make sure that you have a funnel for people to come in. They see something on a postcard, they make a phone call, someone answers it, you could go lock up the deal, or then you could go follow up with them. So that's how I would do it. I would set out a plan. And if you're going to start a new marketing channel, X amount of dollars for X amount of months before we shut it off if we don't get X amount in return.
Okay. And what would you say that it would something that is smart to keep as, like, in terms of the departments or the like, what would be the expenses on payroll that is the most optimal for like a business that is doing over 7 figures, let's say within 1 million to 3 million, let's say, on marketing? What would be those percentage that should be optimal for someone to keep?
Yeah. 20 to 30% for paying people. And I would say around 20% for marketing. The rest is going to, of the actual expenses are going to go towards the subscriptions, the admin, the rest of the general expenses. So that's kind of the percentages I would say for the business there is, then those are going to be the highest ones, is marketing and people. So if you're in those percentages, then you're probably going to be at a pretty healthy pace, especially if you're doing 7 figures.
Okay. All right. And so that's including payroll and marketing.
Payroll, marketing. So 20% for marketing, 20% to 30% for payroll / paying people.
Okay. And what would you say like other extracurricular expenses would be, like, for instance, like education, being able to like reinvest back? Is the percentage of paying people including the education that you put into the people, trainings and things like that, or is that something?
No, that's something separate. So that would be a function of what is this business's goals and trying to accomplish. So how much more left do we have left over to be able to put that stuff in? Because if you do 20% to payroll, 20% to marketing, that's 40% already. If you want to keep 30%, so you're up to 70%, then you have 30% left on all the rest of the stuff. That's all you have left is 30%. So 30% of whatever you're bringing in. If you're bringing in $1 million a year, that's 80,000 ish a month. So that's where you're making sure that, okay, 30% of that 80,000 could be for the rest of that stuff, the coaching, the subscriptions, the education, the travel, all that stuff that falls outside of marketing and the payroll.
Okay. And how do you deal with, people want to obviously not pay too much taxes at the end of the year. And obviously, like, it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna like start spending everything at the end of the year and stuff like that. Like, how do you go about that? Like, making sure that you work with your clients, that they want to spend, they want to purchase maybe some properties, not even like having to they don't need to cash flow, but they just want to purchase it for like specific, tax breaks, or go, sign up for like masterminds or something like that. Like what's the how do you go about those situations at the end of the year, especially?
Well, we just look at, okay, do you have enough to invest in that? And would you rather keep the money, or would you rather, spend those dollars to pay less taxes? So it's like, I get that question a lot. If you have real estate, you should have a good CPA who's taking you through and saying, okay, how can we depreciate as much as possible, or do cost segregations, do things like that to get our tax bill as low as possible anyway. But then you have to make the decision, depending on that owner's stage of life. Do you want more things and stuff for education and programs, to lower your cost of, taxes? Or do you just want to pay some of the taxes, but then you get to keep, the what's left over from that, which is usually a higher percentage than, just buying the things and then keeping them. So it really depends on that person's stage of life. And we make sure that they're talking with their CPA and making sure, hey, talk with your CPA. This is the planning at the end of the year. Is there last minute things that you could do, opening up a 401k or, an IRA or something like that, the different things that you can do to lower your tax thing that would still help you keep some of the money as well too. So that's just one thing that we make sure that people are having those conversations with their CPA. And if they don't have a good CPA, we introduce them to one to make sure that they're having tax strategy planning sessions as well too.
Is there anything different that your clients may be, or you're suggesting your clients during this different economy right now that they're doing, that, preparing them for like whenever they can again go hard and buy, or is there anything different?
Not different than what we already teach. A lot more people are coming to us now because the market was covering sins before. Now it's uncovering sins. So now they want to know their numbers more. They want to have a firm grasp on it. They want to make sure they're keeping more of it. That's why now we're just teaching exactly what we've always taught. But now we're teaching people like, hey, during this time, we have to make sure that you're running a real business, that you can have the reserves that you need, because who knows, not just if something bad happens, but if there's an awesome opportunity because no one else is buying anymore and you can start buying. It's like, what if you would have had $1 million in reserves in 2008 and 9 because you had a system like this where you were stockpiling money and you could jump on those opportunities? So that's really what we're teaching. We're teaching them to be savvy business owners, so that way they can do what they want to do even during a potential downturn like this. And of course, if people are in panic mode, we're helping them with those types of plans. Do you need to sell off some of the assets that you have now? What other things could you be doing right now to bring more money in? Like, what are you good at that you could focus on that maybe you haven't focused on in order to bring in revenue in the business? So just asking them better questions as well too.
Okay, that's awesome. So in a nutshell, obviously people can visit you at simplecfosolutions.com.
We actually bought simplecfo.com. So you don't even have to put solutions in there anymore. You can make it really easy. Simplecfo.com.
Who had it?
Just some guy, some accountant guy. And I called him up last year and said, hey, would you mind sharing, like selling that thing? And he sold it to me for a very reasonable price. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So simplecfo.com, people can reach out to you, but it's, in a nutshell, like, how would your program work?
Yeah.
Is it done for you? Done with you?
Yeah, it's a done with you service. So what we do is people come in and we have an upfront investment to make sure that, number one, we lay the financial foundation. So you get a CFO, a part-time CFO, a chief financial officer. So we're working with people that are doing just a couple deals a month or one deal a month up until, like hundreds of deals a year. And what we do is we lay the financial foundation by doing three main things. Number one, assessing your current financial team. Do you have one? Do you need a bookkeeper? Do you need a CPA? Do we need to make sure that the books are clean and get those up to date? Number two, we implement the Profit First system. So we make sure that you have it set up correctly. We start getting you in the rhythms and those habits that I was talking about. We start doing those assessments of where you are and where we want to go. And are you paying yourself enough? And then number three, we make sure that people have a CFO dashboard that tracks all this. Because then from there, we go on a monthly basis and then we help people review the money, either on a monthly, weekly, or bi-weekly basis of, okay, what if you're making, spending, keeping? What do we need to focus on? What you're making, what you're spending, and what you're keeping. So that's what we do on a consistent basis to make sure that the entrepreneur is actually having money at the end of the day. So that's what we do at Simple CFO and how we help people get that financial anxiety out of their lives and making sure that they have that financial peace and financial freedom.
I love it, man. How else can people get to know more about you? Talk with you?
SimpleCFO.com is a great place because we have our podcast there, the Profit First REI podcast, had Esteban on there and other people that have read Profit First or implemented it to give you hope that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And then also we've got the book link there, or if you want to schedule a call, no obligation. We want to just see if we're not the right fit. Do you need a good referral in the real estate investing space or the real estate space or entrepreneur space for, someone to help you with getting that financial anxiety out of your life, like whether that's a bookkeeper, CPA, or whatever. But we'd love to help you. That's at simplecfo.com.
So you already have like a Rolodex of like for sure people that will produce like let's say CPA, bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yes,
right.
indeed.
That's awesome. I mean, like you got everything. Like I said, man, like I think anyone that is like, for example, teaching education on how to get started in real estate investing or real estate wholesaling, one of the biggest things that I would do if I had that type of educational program or, whatever that program would be, a course, it'd be like, as a welcome, I'll give them, first of all, a marketing book, something like, for example, 100 million offers by Alex Ramosi, and a financial book, which would be then Profit First for real estate investing.
Yeah.
So one of the most important things for them to make money, which is marketing and understanding marketing and sales, are given in a very simple solution book. And one of the most important things in order to keep money and understanding your finances and having to be set up at the beginning, it's also given in a $20 piece, right?
Right.
So that will be the first thing. Week one, first day, boom, I sent those 2 books. And obviously, like, you can jump into a call with your team and such. So, hey man, thank you for this podcast episode. I love to like have you in person, and maybe uncover a few things and going through a few maybe case studies or examples of things that you've done. I have been able to help your clients in person here
Yeah,
in
for sure.
Miami. So
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
yeah, man, thank you so much for being in this episode. I hope that if you guys liked it, the listeners of this episode, give us a review. Just go to Amazon. It seems like, sorry, not Amazon, Apple Podcasts. It seems like that's a place where people would go and listen to most of this one. I thought it was Spotify, but it's Apple. And give us a review. Give us whatever you think that we deserve as a 5 stars. I would say 5 stars, and just tell us how you like this episode. Tell us if you get any value, any actionable tip, and we'll appreciate it. And follow David Ritcher. Go to simplecfo.com, schedule a call with them. David Ritcher, you got social media?
Yep, I've got Facebook, so you can look me up there, or Instagram. It's Richter Scale 91, so you can look me up at either place.
All right, follow him on social media. And I think he just recently hired someone in marketing and he's gonna be pumping some marketing content for you guys to. And follow also his podcast. What's your podcast name?
The Profit First for Real Estate Investing podcast. So Profit First REI.
Now people come in that podcast with different scenarios of how they've been able to like get the profit first model and the finances and everything.
Yeah.
So it'll give you different perspectives and different business models that are in there. Thank you so much, David, and everyone listening to this. I hope you liked it. All right.